We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen, and we'd like to introduce Carol Austin, Executive Director of First Up. Carol, what is First Up?
So we train teachers who work with children 0 to 8 years old, mostly pre-K, about 3,000 teachers or so a year.
Wow. Where are you from originally?
Oh, Barbados.
Barbados. And how many brothers and sisters, and where are you in the pecking order?
Well, I'm the middle of 3 girls.
The middle of 3 girls growing up in Barbados. All right, Peter.
Growing up in Barbados, Carol, you had mentioned in the green room that it was a lot of freedom, fun, and independence. Can you talk to us a little bit about where that came from?
Yeah, I think one of the things is my parents immigrated to the U.S. when I was 8 years old, and they really encouraged and allowed us to be independent, focused on making a lot of our own decisions. And so I think that, and then growing up in Barbados, we kept our doors open. There was just a lot of fun and freedom there.
And as you were growing up in that freedom, you also mentioned to us that there were certain role models as you were growing up that you keyed in on. Can you tell us a little bit about those role models and what that meant to you as a child?
Oh, yeah. 2 of my very favorite teachers, Miss Vaughn and Mr. Cadogan. Miss Vaughn, she would smile all the time. You just wanted to be around her and just be in her presence. And then Mr. Cadogan, I'll never forget, he had us memorize probably like 100 idiomatic expressions saying we would get them in the test, the promotion test, and we got none. And we still loved him because, he just expected so much of us, but he gave so much.
I said so much appreciation coming from your teachers. And how does that show up today? How does that show up at First Up for you?
Yeah. Well, at First Up, I am so about, high expectations, and in life in general, high expectations, but with lots of support. And I think that's what, we offer teachers, and that's what there is to for teachers to offer children. That there are these high expectations. They can do anything, but we have a lot of support with that.
Denise?
Carol, you were the middle of 3 girls. Tell us a little bit about what that experience was like for you.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, being in the middle, the peacemaker, I probably am a typical middle child. But yes, I think today just hate the drama, resist the drama. And unfortunately, whenever I'm feel like I'm forced into that position, it's never pleasant for me. But, I like peace and like bringing people together in a way.
Carol, in the green room, you mentioned that when you were 8 years old, your parents moved to the U.S., but you and your sisters stayed in Barbados with your grandmom. Can you tell us more about what was going on there?
Yeah. Well, my parents, they had the immigrant dream, to move here to the U.S. and build a future for us, a brighter future. So that was the whole point of them moving.
And what exactly happened once they got to the U.S.?
Well, when they got here, my dad, he worked, I think at Bloomingdale's in New York. As an elevator operator, and then he went to school, spent time going back to school so he could get his degree, and just before he turned 40, I think he got his degree.
So basically, your dad, that's when you guys moved over after he got his degree.
Yes, much later. I moved when I was 18.
So this whole idea about education, the fact that teachers really influenced you, and the fact that you were aware that your dad was getting an education here, that meant a great deal to you as you were growing up, didn't it?
It meant a great deal to me and in my family. They were really insistent that once they were finished, we would move up and go to college.
So that whole education is truly a bridge between coming from Barbados to the United States.
Yes.
Jim?
What was education like in Barbados?
Oh my goodness, what was education like in Barbados? Well, it was pretty competitive. A process where, when you're 11, you take this exam, and that your score determines the school that you go to. So that's what we talked about. That's what we talked about at home. That's what we talked about everywhere. Going to some of the best schools and learning, and my aunt was a teacher. So it was everything. I was surrounded with it.
Were you very driven in school?
The teachers would always say, Carol can always do better. I think I really appreciated the social aspect more than anything else.
Uh-huh.
But my report cards would definitely say that. Oh, Carol has so much potential. She can always do better.
Kayla?
Yeah, Carol, you mentioned a few teachers you had when you were growing up that were role models. Which one was the most influential for you, and what do you take from them to your business today?
Yeah. Well, I think honestly the 2 that I indicated before, Miss Vaughn, because you always wanted to be in her presence. Her smile was amazing. She was beaming. And then Mr. Cadogan, because he whipped our butts, like literally too. But we loved him, and I know why we loved him, because we knew that he had our backs. He had our backs. It was all so that we can be extraordinary.
Mm-hmm. Brian.
From what we've heard, it sounds like education gave you and your family some great opportunities. Do you see a bit of what you're doing as paying it forward to young minds to make sure they get those types of opportunities?
Oh, absolutely. I believe, for me, education is it. You know, it's the key to everything. The end of poverty, to people experiencing themselves as being successful. You know, just it's been that for me, and I believe it is for, you know, the generations coming and present.
Earlier, you mentioned the word presence. It sounded to me like you really felt a presence from some of your earlier teachers in Barbados. And it was interesting you used that word, presence. Why'd you use that word, and why is that important in terms of what you're doing nowadays? You
know, it's interesting because I guess whenever someone asks me who's been a mentor, it's ironic for me that the first people that always come to mind are these teachers. So I'd say that I feel their presence with me every day. You know, what they gave to me, and I didn't even realize at the time what I was getting. Like that ability and that sense of, you know, I can be extra, I can do great things, I can accomplish whatever I want to accomplish. It has just stayed with me.
Do you have a sense of how many kids you affect? I know you're affecting about 3,000 teachers a year. Do you have any idea how many children you're affecting?
Wow. Well, tens of thousands.
Mm-hmm. You ever hear any of the success stories?
Of the children?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, every time a child moves into kindergarten, especially because we work mostly with pre-K, and they're at the point they move through and they're able to read. By the time they're in third grade, that's a success story, because that's not what's happening right now. So that's what we're up to.
So you're telling me that one of the things your group's able to do is help encourage kids so they're reading by give me that again, third grade?
Yeah, being able to read on grade level, at grade level, by the end of third grade, because that will set the trajectory for the rest of their life.
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, if they can read on grade level by third grade, then they can begin to comprehend and put pieces together, which is, at that stage in fourth grade, you have to then be able to apply everything that you have. So they can start to make connections. They can really start to learn.
Huh. How'd you get the sense? How do you know all this stuff?
How do I know all this stuff?
Yeah.
Well, I too am driven to know and to learn.
Why is this gig this is like a life passion for you?
Yeah,
this is not
completely.
just a job, is it?
No. I've worked in education, you know, my whole career, really, at the high school level, and now on behalf of children who are much younger. But yeah, I've probably been in every high school too in Philadelphia, and you know, I teach in my church. It's my whole world. Is education.
But this is a nonprofit organization, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you go in at 9 o'clock and leave at 5 o'clock. No?
Yeah, right. Yes. You want to see my outgoing email box?
So what time do you get started in the morning? What time do you stop at night?
Well, it varies, right? Like, it doesn't mean that I am some hero. I'm sure I'm just like everyone else. I work to get the job done. And if that means I work on weekends, I work on weekends. If it means in the evening, it's in the evening.
But you don't get paid extra for that stuff.
Oh, no.
But
No.
why do you do it? So why do you do it?
Well, I do it because I believe in it. And for me,
believe
it's
in
about
what?
making a difference.
You believe in what?
I believe in making a difference. I believe I want what I do to count, what I do to matter, and I want to make a difference for kids.
Huh. What's the best part of your day?
That's a good question. What's the best part of my day?
Yeah. Best part of your day.
I think being with people. Any opportunity I get to be out and around people, definitely not the paperwork, definitely not writing grants.
What's the website address of this organization, First Up?
Firstup.org.
Let me have that one more time.
firstup.org.
We've been speaking with Carol Austin, Executive Director of First Up here on Executive Leaders Radio. Don't forget to visit our website. It's executiveleadersradio.com to learn more about our executive leaders. It's executiveleadersradio.com to learn more about our executive leaders. We'll be back in a moment, right after this break.